Cup for Thoroughbred Grand Prix cars is an international championship for 3-litre, normally aspirated Formula One cars. Race cars originally built and raced in World Championship events between 1966 and 1985.
I like to see the old cars driving again because it makes people understand what the old cars could do and what the new cars are doing, basically. And as I've been driving these old cars in the past, so it's like to look at it.
There was somebody behind it to encourage it in the first place. So I think it's nice to see the cars again racing.
Well, I enjoy seeing old cars. I think they're more beautiful and I understand them more, certainly than the modern ones. And I think it's lovely to see them in such good condition and raced. I mean, over here they race. In many other countries they don't race nearly as hard as we do here.
There is nostalgia. And the cars are still competitive, they're still very fast, they're still powerful. And I think they make a good show.
The cars are from a generation of heroes. Stewart, Jones, Villeneuve, Lauda, Watson, Mansell, Rosberg, Piquet, Patrese, Brabham, Surtees, Hill, Hunt and Hailwood. The list is endless. Excitement was the core ingredient of Formula One, and today's TGP Championship relives those golden moments from motorsport's finest hour.
Whether it's nostalgic or not, it's the history of the sport. And I think it makes it, I think the history of a sport is what makes it credible today.
It's wonderful, really, to see so many of those cars are still around.
When I see a Williams, 15 or 25-year-old Williams driving around, and maybe winning, I think, I'm sure I sold that car much too cheaply. I could get far more for it now.
This kind of races, they keep alive cars that if not, they are in the museum. And like this, you can see really these cars still going very quick with capable drivers too.
It's a stirring time for me in many ways. It's very nostalgic. I mean, you know, brings a lump to your throat, really.
Don't think that this is just an historical procession. These guys are really going for it.
I think they're very brave, you know, because the car weren't that easy to drive in the time I was driving it, and of course the circuits are a bit safer, but still the cars are very dangerous, and I hope they don't go really to the limit.
It makes fantastic racing to watch, and you do see the cars sliding around a bit more than they do now. What amazes me is how hard those guys do drive the cars and how much they're prepared to... Well, I'm not sure if they're prepared for having accidents, but you do see quite a few accidents.
The people get a chance to see the days that the cars have done, sort of bygone days out on the track, doing what they always sort of love seeing them do, which is racing.
They probably drive the cars harder than they were driven in the 60s and the 70s, in some cases. You know, they're a bit wilder.
An era when engineers from every team tried to outguess each other in the never-ending design and development search for speed. The twin-chassis Lotus 88, the six-wheel Tyrrell, the Brabham fan car, and of course ground effects were just some of the more outrageous achievements.
Just in that, if you like, window of 10 to 15 years, the changes that Formula One went through just on the engine and design front and the aerodynamic front was just incredible. You know, is actually make it, try it and go out, and if it worked, it worked, and it was sort of a little bit like that occasionally.
So what about the glamorous lifestyle of the golden years? Are the rumours true?
Oh, I like so many racing drivers of my period, were so focused, we never saw any of the glamour at all. There was never any pretty girls around in my day. They just didn't seem to exist, but of course I was so focused I would never be distracted by brunettes or blondes or any of these sort of things.
Of course not. I think 20 years ago, or even more, there was more fun inside the sport, definitely. Because there was less work and more time to have a good fun, I think.
The respect amongst the drivers was greater. You know, you didn't look at the other guy as somebody in the far end. They were always good, and they were always people.
That's what helped make Formula One in those days, because it was the comradeship between all the drivers. You know, we might have been fighting one another on the track, but we were always good friends off the track. And it was just that wonderful family atmosphere, and like a circus going around from one circuit to another.
The 8-round Pan-European Championship itself split into 4 very competitive classes. Class A is for all cars built up to the end of 1971. In the late 60s, some would say these were the golden days. For example, the ex-Jack Brabham BT-33 and Graham Hill's old BT-34. a 1971 Surtees TS9, and the 1970 March 701. Previous owner Jean-Pierre Jarier, now in the experienced hands of Owen Derricks. Class B, all post-1971 non-ground effect cars. The aerodynamic design revolution had started. Wings had become the norm. These include such legendary machines as the ex-Andretti and Peterson Lotus 77s, a Lotus 78, an Alan Jones Williams FW06, Marches, Surtees, Hesketh, Shadows, Ensigns, McLarens, and of course, the six-wheel Tyrrell P34, originally driven by Ronnie Peterson and now in the very capable hands of Martin Stretton. With an extra bonus of the occasional appearance from the ex-Gilles Villeneuve Ferrari 312 T5. Next up, Class C for all ground effect cars. The designers had locked themselves in the winter and discovered ground effects. For a period, these cars literally sucked themselves down to the track, producing the most remarkable cornering speeds. For the TGP, they've had to lift their skirts to help make things a little more equal. They include a field of 4 Lotuses with Steve Hitchens' twin chassis 88 making its race debut 20 years after it was built. Class C continues with 4 Arrows with the ex-Mark Sura A4 driven by Hubertus Paulson. No less than 9 Williams FW07 and 08s of Alan Jones, Carlos Reutemann and Kenny Rosberg. And don't forget 3 McLarens, including John Watson's M29. Ensigns, Rams, Ocellas and the stunning Brabham BT49 of Riccardo Patrese, now raced by German driver Christian Glaser. Last, but by no means least, Class D, new for 2002, is the flat-bottomed cars. These were a result of the regulators having one more try at slowing the ground effect cars down. They include the Tyrrell 012 of Alistair Morrison, Steve Hartley's 1983 Arrows A6, and the first appearance of the ex-Pierluigi Martini Minardi, with Steve Hitchens at the wheel. The majority of today's TGP grid uses the 3-litre DFV V8 Cosworth engine. In modern trim, they produce around 500 brake horsepower, more than enough to enable today's TGP drivers to record lap times that would have seen them qualify midfield when the cars originally raced. It's real hands-on with all these cars. Compared with today's F1, it's low-tech. Not a driver aid in sight. These guys are working hard.
During my time, you have a lot of things to do. The brake was very hard, the gearbox was very hard. Now you have a control of wheel spin. When you start, it's near automatic.
Now every ape can drive a modern Formula 1 car because everything is automatic. But to go quick and win races is always the same problem. You have to have more talent and you have to be able to drive these cars quicker.
So the modern car is much more difficult to drive properly than the older cars. I mean, people who drove the old cars would probably disagree with that. But the G-forces and the acceleration and braking of a modern car is so much more than they were those days.